Next on The Shield, it's October. We talked to members of Valpo's Alliance to find out about the significance of this month.
Plus, a house explosion in Rockton shakes a western Illinois community.
We saw warm temperatures today. We're still sitting in the 70s, but big changes are coming. I'll have my full forecast coming up in just a little bit. But first, you're watching The Shield here on Channel 15.
Thank you for joining us here on The Shield. I'm Brendan Johnson.
And I'm Lauren Hilko.
This month at Valparaiso University, the Campus LGBTQ Alliance is hosting their annual series of October events. Katie Nicolau has more on that story.
For a majority of people across the United States, October is generally associated with football and tailgates. But for the Alliance group at Valparaiso University and at universities across the United States, October has become Outtober, a time to celebrate the LGBTQ+ communities. We sat down with Kevy Simonson and Monique Nunez and asked them what Valparaiso has planned for this upcoming month.
Here at Valparaiso University, our student organization will focus on some aspects to create awareness, to educate, and perhaps get individuals to advocate for them. On October 17th, which is a Saturday, here in our Gandhi King Center at the multipurpose room, we're going to have a film screening. And that film screening is But I Am a Cheerleader.
Our final event for October will be on the 29th at 8 p.m. in the Gandhi King Center. That is our Sex Talk, where a representative from Planned Parenthood will be coming in to talk about safe sex practices.
Sometimes when we talk about sex talk, that's a taboo word, but it's all about safe sex. It's all about safe practices, and it also talks about just not best practices, but to educate and to inform.
For more information on Alliance and the events that they will be hosting, you can go to valpo.edu/student/alliance.
In other regional news, an explosion and house fire in Rockton, Illinois on Saturday morning left a woman severely burned and a man missing.
First initial reports were that the individual was in the basement and working on a gas line of some sort when the explosion occurred.
Officials say the woman has severe burns all over her body, and she just left the hospital with injuries that are life-endangering. Police are unsure of what caused the explosion, but they suspect it was a gas-related. The house is beyond repair.
Well, Lauren, it was actually kind of a cold start to the week here, and then we kind of bounced back with temperatures.
Yes.
I don't know if you've noticed that a little bit.
Yes.
We have Lynnette Grant, Storm Shield meteorologist, standing by in the Storm Shield weather forecast, or Weather Center rather, with your first forecast. Lynnette?
That's right, guys. Like I mentioned, we saw those warm temperatures today, and that's pretty much what we're going to see for the rest of the evening. However, I mentioned big changes are coming. Let's get right to it. We're sitting in the 70s across much of northwest Indiana right now, but the big story are those winds. Not much to talk about here in northwest Indiana, but out in Illinois, those winds are a lot stronger, and that's all due to a cold front that's pushing through. There's that system right there. We'll take a look closer to home. That front passed through, and we saw very few showers, but it was mostly just cloud cover. This is actually going to cause much bigger changes in the next few days. I'll have that coming up in just a few minutes. But first, guys, back to you.
Thanks, Lynnette. Downward flight.
Next on The Shield, we tell you about the deadliest attack in Turkey's modern history.
Plus, a popular flight provider is experiencing technical issues. We have that and more when we come back.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it... If dying young won't change your mind, baby, right.
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my jam.
And welcome back to The Shield. Thousands of people in Ankara are paying their respects to the victims in the last Saturday's double suicide bombing. Now, this is said to be the deadliest attack in modern Turkish history. Huge crowds congregated in Ankara near the site of the bombing that occurred during a peaceful protest. Flowers marked the spot where the two blasts killed over 95 people. More than 500 others were injured. The uncertainty in the country is continuing to mount, especially with the upcoming critical parliamentary elections in November. CNN's Arwa Damon reports.
Most of the bodies at this stage have been handed over to family members, many of them, along with the vast majority of the country, struggling to come to terms with their loss, trying to say their final goodbyes to family members and loved ones who perished in Saturday's attack. But even those who did not know anyone who was killed or wounded are still shocked by the violence that transpired, brought on by two suicide bombers who detonated during what was meant to be a peace rally when around already 14,000 people had gathered. This rally was meant to be calling for peace between the Turkish government and the Kurdistan Workers' Party, the separatist group, the PKK. But already this violence, despite great fears and calls for unity, both from politicians and from people themselves, has already become quite a polarizing issue in a country that is already very politically polarized. The country's prime minister coming out and saying that this was an attack on the state, but the pro-Kurdish opposition party leader, the leader of the HDP, coming out and saying that blame lies with the government, at the very least for failing to provide adequate security. No claim of responsibility yet at this stage, but everyone very anxious about what the future is going to hold, especially in the lead up to these fairly critical November 1st parliamentary elections, effectively something of a rerun of elections that already took place over the summer but were inconclusive when it came to seating a government. Turkey right now struggling not only with political insecurity and instability, but with the potential for more violence as well. Arwa Damon, Ankara.
Planning to travel somewhere soon? Well, you better be careful because a popular flight provider is experiencing technical difficulties. Southwest Airlines is experiencing an issue which is forcing them to check in with passengers manually. Now, this will cause longer wait times as a result. The company urges customers to arrive 2 hours ahead of their scheduled takeoff this week. Yesterday or Sunday, Southwest had 3,600 flights scheduled throughout the day and say roughly 100 had been delayed. These technical difficulties come just 3 months after a glitch at United Airlines grounded 4,900 scheduled flights. Although the difficulties are being tackled, it is hard to say how long this problem will persist.
A woman in Indianapolis fought off a home intruder using an interesting skill set, that being medieval sword fighting with the samurai sword. CNN Alexis McAdams spoke with her.
I can see the guy standing right about here, and then I just came at him and just started punching like this, and then, get out, get out, get out.
When Karen Dolly woke up and found an intruder standing in the hallway of her Indy home early Friday morning, she knew she had to do whatever it took to protect herself.
If I feel threatened as I'm coming awake, I'm going to attack.
Dolly says it only took a few seconds for the suspect to force open the door and get inside. The 43-year-old, who's trained in medieval combat, jumped out of bed, flicked on the lights, and punched the man in the face at least 10 times.
He was deflecting a lot like this.
Then she grabbed her large Japanese combat sword.
It's got an edge. It'll cut.
And held the blade to the intruder until police arrived.
I just held it on him like this while he was on the floor, and I'm calling 911 with the other hand.
Officers arrested 30-year-old Jacob Wessel of Greenwood.
He was so out of it.
Police say Wessel was high in an unknown substance when he broke in, repeatedly telling officers he was hiding from someone. But he had no idea that his hiding place would have a woman with a Japanese sword.
I would have swung, or I would have stabbed.
Wessel did not put up a fight and apologized on the way out.
If he had behaved in a slightly different manner, he wouldn't have gotten out of here alive.
And a high school football team in Denver has taken their community service project a step further. They have given the crown of homecoming queen to a 3-year-old girl with special needs. Here's CNN reporter Drew Engelbart with the story.
Meet Evelyn. She just turned 3 years old, and her nurses say she's the strongest girl in the world. Little Abby was born with several complications. She's undergone multiple open-heart surgeries and was not expected to live past 6 weeks old.
Are you watching the football player?
This summer, members of the Manual High School football team turned Abby's backyard from a pile of dirt to grass that she immediately fell in love with.
When we saw that little girl walk out on her new lawn, it touched my heart so much, I wanted to cry.
It's something that immediately touched us. I mean, I think there's so few times in your life where you can feel an immediate impact.
Abby made such an impact on the team.
Let's get her right in the middle of all of us.
I appreciate that a lot.
They wanted to do more.
There is something special about high school and about a high school football game on a Friday night, and meeting little Abby, we wanted to make sure we could share that experience with her of what a high school homecoming night was.
How are you? So the T-Bolts invited Abby to their homecoming game tonight.
Let's go T-Bolts! And our very special homecoming queen, Queen Abby.
To see this little girl walk out, be crowned queen, something she won't probably experience ever, so it really means a lot to us.
The newly crowned 2015 Manual High School homecoming queen had just as big of an impact on the team as they did on her.
Our coach always has a saying, who choose life, and that's, but that little girl chose life.
While they didn't win Friday night, the Manual T-Bolts are still winners in spirit. Well, that does it for national news. Storm Shield meteorologist Lynnette Grant has your full forecast when we come back. Stick with us.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it... If Daniel won't change your mind, baby, right.
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my jam.
Welcome back, everyone. We're sitting at 73 degrees right now. Those winds are a bit breezy out of the west-southwest, and those winds are going to be sticking with us for the next few days. Our high temperatures today were in the 70s, which is well above normal for this time of year. We should be in the 60s. In fact, 64 is that average temperature for this time of year. Unfortunately, we didn't break records. If the heat is something you like, and if you do like the heat, I hope you got out and enjoyed it, because things are going to be changing all because of this storm system. We see it spinning across the Great Lakes right now, and if we zoom in a little closer, we can see that cold front that came through earlier this afternoon. It stayed mostly dry, a couple showers here or there, but it was mostly just the clouds that we saw from this storm. But let's take a look at these temperatures. I mentioned things are going to change a lot. Well, we're sitting in the 60s by the time we get to 7 o'clock tonight. Overnight, temperatures are going to drop into the upper 40s for tomorrow morning, so you'll want that extra jacket with you when you head off to classes tomorrow. In the afternoon, our high temperatures tomorrow only make it to about 60 degrees, which is a lot cooler than what we saw yesterday. All that heat has dropped further back to the south, and that's where we see it there. Let's go further into Wednesday morning. That's when the bulk of the cold comes in. 44 for that overnight low. Tuesday into Wednesday, we see even cooler conditions up to the north in Wisconsin. And then high temperatures again on Wednesday, only making it out to 60 degrees yet again. So you'll definitely want to bring that sweater with you when you head off to classes this week, because things aren't going to be the same as they were what we saw today and over the weekend. 69 degrees right now in Valparaiso, 72 in Gary, and 73 off to our west in Kankakee. As we go into the overnight hours, we'll see those temperatures drop into the upper 50s, right around 60 degrees. But overnight is when things get cool. We saw some of those blues come in, and those are temperatures in the upper 50s, so upper 40s, excuse me. So it's going to get really cold. And then by the time we go into tomorrow afternoon, upper 50s, maybe 60 degrees, topping out for those highs tomorrow. So another cold one on tap, and the cold really comes in Wednesday morning. 45 for that overnight low, but 42 in Joliet and 43 over in Ottawa. So again, things are just going to get colder. And the reason for that, we saw these warm temperatures this weekend because we had this ridge in the jet stream, and the trough was off to our west, and that brought those cooler temperatures. Now, as we go further into this week, that trough is going to move here over the Midwest and bring those cooler temperatures, while all the heat, unfortunately, will stay off to the west and to the south. Well, let's take a look at future radar, though. We want to see if it's going to get cold with if it's going to rain with this cold. We saw these clouds earlier today, but those have since pushed off. We'll see some cloud cover overnight tonight, but we will stay mostly dry. A few sprinkles will be possible up to our north in Michigan, but you will not need that umbrella when you head off to classes tomorrow morning. Going into the afternoon, those clouds stick around just a little bit, but we will see that sunshine. So don't worry, that sun will still be around, but it'll clear out Tuesday night into Wednesday, which will make it seem very cold going into Wednesday morning. Well, let's take a look at your forecast. Tonight will drop down to 47 degrees. It will be chilly, and it will also be quite windy, with those winds gusting to up to 25 miles per hour at times. Tomorrow we will see the sun, but unfortunately those temperatures will only top out at 60 degrees, and we will have windy conditions yet again. So hold on to your hats on Tuesday, and then as we go into Wednesday, those temperatures continue to stay cool. We warm up just a little bit on Thursday. Some spots may see 70 degrees, but bigger cool down comes Friday and Saturday, with those temperatures only in the 50s and maybe not even hitting 50 on Saturday. I'm being optimistic with that 50 because seeing those temperatures already dipping into the 30s for overnight lows is quite chilly, considering we've been used to those warm temperatures.
Sure, and do you think this is like the end of this warm pack at the end of summer? Do you think
I hate to say it because I do like the heat, but unfortunately it's not looking good if you guys like the heat.
Yeah, and I know, Lynnette, you want to tell us a little bit about the flooding that recently happened in South Carolina.
I do. Earlier this month, South Carolina saw a lot of flooding. Early autumn rainfall caused major flooding there earlier this month. Portions of I-95 still remain closed from those floods. I had took a look at this historical significance of this event and some of its effects.
Highways and roads along the southeast United States continue to look like rivers after multiple days of heavy rain earlier this month, leading some to opt for travel by boat. The Columbia Canal Dam in South Carolina breached during the storms, leading helicopters to aid in recovery and repair efforts. This flooding event is being referred to as a 1-in-1,000-year flood. No, this does not mean that 1 year out of every 1,000 has this much rain. Instead, it means that to get the large amounts of rain that fell is a 1-in-1,000 chance. Portions of South Carolina saw over 20 inches of rain over the course of 4 days. In total, 11 trillion gallons of water fell from the sky in the Carolinas. With the rain finally letting up during mid-October, residents can start returning to their homes and clean up what is left from the floods. For The Shield, I'm Storm Shield meteorologist Lynnette Grant.
Now, Brendan and Lauren, I just want to give you some statistics I found from these floodings. There was enough water from this event to fill 130,370 Rose Bowls. The sports arena in California. This water could also fill the volume of Lake Tahoe. And get this, it could even end the drought in California right now.
Wow, that's incredible.
Unbelievable.
And the fact that the majority of the rain fell in a 4-day span is
just unprecedented. I mean, the flooding,
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen pictures, we've seen video. I mean, just the effects have been devastating
Oh,
to that
definitely.
state. And they've, you know, of course, they've had some other issues in South Carolina. Not a good year for South Carolina.
It
this
really
year.
hasn't.
Unfortunate. Well, thank you, Lynnette, for that.
Yes, thank you. Well, thanks, Lynnette. Coming up after the break, Jordan Morandini has an update on your Crusader athletics from this past week. Stay with us.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it...
If Daniel won't change your mind, baby,
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR.
Welcome back to The Shield. I'm Jordan Morandini with today's Sports Update. The volleyball team had a pair of big Horizon League matchups this weekend, beginning with hosting Milwaukee this past Friday night. It was expected by some to be a close match. The Crusaders absolutely dominated from start to finish, winning in straight sets 25-12, 25-12, and 25-19. Taylor Grabowski led the way for Valpo with 11 kills. The Crusaders then welcomed Green Bay to the Arc on Saturday night. Each set was close, but Green Bay swept the Crusaders in straight sets. This loss took Valpo's Horizon League record to 4-2. They will look to get back on track this Tuesday as they host Chicago State in a non-conference matchup. The women's soccer team had a huge matchup this past Friday when they hosted Northern Kentucky. With Northern Kentucky coming into this match at 3-0 in Horizon League play, it was a good opportunity for the Crusaders to move up in the standings. Things looked good early on when the Crusaders struck first on an April Cronin goal. However, Northern Kentucky answered with a pair of goals in just 2 minutes to take the lead. Morgan Mansky scored for the second straight game, sending this one to overtime. Valpo had chances, but Kelsey Lawman of Northern Kentucky scored in the second overtime, handing the Crusaders a loss. They will look to get back on track conference-wise this Saturday when they host Green Bay. The men's soccer team had a chance to continue their recent hot stretch when they went on the road this past Saturday to Wright State. As good as the Crusaders have been lately, Wright State just looked like the better team throughout. They scored 3 different times in this game while holding the Crusaders to just 1 goal, which was a Thomas Suleiman shot in the 89th minute. The loss took the Crusaders' record to 2-1-1 in conference play. They will look to get back on track in a non-conference game this Wednesday at New Mexico. Coming off of their first win of the season, the football team looked to make it 2 straight when they traveled to Drake to take on the Bulldogs. Valpo stayed in the game early, only being down 7-0 after the first quarter. However, Drake broke it open after that, defeating the Crusaders by a final score of 34-7. Frank Katrine had the lone touchdown on a pass from Ryan Clark in the game. Valpo will look to right the ship this upcoming Saturday when they host Dayton at Brown Field. For more information on Crusader Athletics, log on to valpoathletics.com. After this short break, we will have a last look at weather with Lynnette.
Good morning, Valparaiso University. What's a better way to start your day than with a new jam? And WVUR has just what you need.
But if you close your eyes, does it almost feel like nothing changed at all? And if you close your eyes, does it...
If Daniel won't change your mind, baby,
Broadcasting sports, news, weather, and music on air, online, and on campus. WVUR is my jam.
And to wrap up tonight, we want to send a special congratulations to two of our VUTV staffers. Our very own Executive Director, Amy Vanderhayden, and staffer Andrew Whitmire participated in the Chicago Marathon this weekend. Lauren and I were actually on State Street for a little bit and Michigan Avenue to see them off, and they did just a fantastic job there. You can see them running. We were stationed at the 2-mile marker there, just past. So before we go, though, we want to send a quick look at weather. Lynnette?
We're going to see those temperatures cool off. It was quite warm for that marathon, but now things are going to cool off as we get closer into next week with only 50s by the time we get to next weekend.
All righty. Well, thank you, Lynnette. For Jordan, Lauren, Lynnette, and all of us here at VUTV, I'm Brendan Johnson. Have a great rest of the week, Valpo.